Well, good morning, Freedom Team. Hope everyone coming off a wonderful weekend. I'm up here in the Colorado mountains. Don't know if you know, but we had about 2 feet of snow in 3 days. Crazy. Hadn't seen that much snow in 20 something years, but we've had pure sunshine the last 3 days straight, so it's melting fast. But anyway, it was gorgeous coming down. Thank God I didn't have to go out and drive in that stuff. But guys, we're off to it like always, a Monday morning. I love the way it starts off. Just get an interview somebody who is very successful with attraction. And Dan definitely is one of them. Can't wait to get to know this gentleman and what he has done to build this massive group. So let me start off right now. Give you a little bit of Dan's background before we kick in here. So Dan Lesniak, am I
Lesniak.
saying that right?
Lesniak.
Lesniak. Dan Lesniak sold over 22 million in his first year in real estate and quickly began building one of the highest selling teams in the DC area market. He then went on to grow the Keri Shull team to one of the highest selling teams in the nation. He has written multiple best-selling books and co-founded the HyperFast Agent Coaching Company and has hosted over 500 episodes of the HyperFast Agent Podcast. Good for you, man. At the end of 22, Dan and Keri moved their brokerage, DXP Realty, and began building one of the fastest growing groups at EXP. Dan and his wife, Keri, have 4 amazing children. And as I've got this probably about a week or two, maybe a little higher now, but 64 FLAs, 19 FLQAs, and 365 in his group. All right, that's kind of like applause right here. Good for you, Dan, man. That has been awesome, brother. Well,
Thank
man,
you.
a lot of us just want to get to know you before we kind of dive into how you've done this. So, anything else you'd love for us to know about you, kind of whether it's anything else about family, how you got into real estate, and maybe take us on the journey at least up to the point right before you were approached about EXP. Anything you'd love for us to know about you and your real estate business?
Yeah, so I got into real estate when I was 31 or 32,
Okay.
13 years ago. And it was after I interviewed for a lot of different jobs in the strategy consulting world. I had a background in the Navy on submarines, and I got my MBA, and I was in defense contracting, and I wanted something different, like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, and I was interviewing at a really challenging time for hiring. It was like coming off of 2010, 2011 recessions, and I kept doing well in the interviews, but then not getting the offer, and they kept telling me they didn't think I had a good enough background in sales. So I said, well, what do I need to do? They said, go get some different experience. So I got my real estate license. I thought it would be something I did on the side because I still had a full-time job. And then,
Yeah.
the short story is after a few months, I looked at my pipeline, and it was like my 90-day pipeline was bigger than what I was going to make at my full-time job for like a year or longer, probably. So I quit that and went on and sold 22 million in my first year. And then a couple of years later, I met my wife, and she was in real estate. We merged our teams, built a really big team. We were number 4 at Keller Williams, and then we left to go to our own brokerage that we started, and we did that for 9 years. So we were,
Okay.
doing that. I was approached by Tim Harris, at the right time, because he was probably maybe the third or fourth person to ever approach me, maybe the second one that like actually had substantive conversations.
Yeah.
And
And that's that's Tim and Julie Harris, right?
yeah,
Yeah, got the dynamic podcast as well. Very cool.
yep,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm gonna sorry.
You're good.
Okay, cool. That's much better. Yeah, so I came because we were coming off like middle of 22. It was a tough time. Our market had far fewer transactions, and we lost a bunch of seasoned agents that like took bonuses from different brokerages. So it just came at a time when I realized if we're going to spend time building a team or a brokerage or a teamerage or whatever you want to call it, it made sense to do it on a platform where people can outgrow you and they're still in a relationship with you,
Yeah.
business wise.
Let me,
And yeah.
real quick, Dan, even though this is about attraction, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty mind boggled. Your very first year in real estate, 22 million. So I don't know if anybody else is wanting to know what in the world did you do your first year to bring in that kind of volume?
Yeah, I went like super hyper local. So I had the job, so I figured I'm not gonna go do the SOI thing because everyone knows me in this area for something else. Plus, I didn't want my work to know. um, so I focused on the condo building I lived in, and there were 200 units there, and it was we were coming off a time that building was 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. So it was just starting to get a little bit of churn. And when you if you're trying to go in an existing market, there's always established agents or typically, but if
Yeah.
you can find a community that's 3 years old, chances are the guys for NVR, DR Horton, they all left. They're just selling the next thing. They're not really staying in touch
Yeah.
with their past clients. So there's usually not an established agent. So, and that was just luck because I lived there, but I think that's what led to it. And then, I'd get move up out buyers from there that would go like a community over a couple streets over. So then and there wasn't much inventory. So I'd be selling in my primary building, but then doing door knocking and, things like that to find off markets. And then so I'd get into these these other townhouse communities or condo communities where I just kind of slipped by the established agents because I had a buyer. So it was just very geographically focused and doing everything I could to hit that market. So like, going on
Sounds
back
like
then it
you
was
did.
Craigslist.
Sounds like you did extremely well, man, out of the gate. That's incredible. So when you and your wife came together and you said you guys started your own independent brokerage, was the before coming to EXP, was the main focus, were you guys trying to grow that brokerage and build a traditional team? Was that what you guys were doing?
Yeah, we got to put Steve on me. Oh, there he goes. Yeah, the brokerage was really aimed at it was there for our team. We weren't out like we weren't set up like a KW or Century 21 where we're recruiting agents. We would typically recruit newer agents or people that had got their start somewhere else but then get to where they want and then train them
Yeah.
up. And the team, it was a traditional team model where the team generated massive amounts of leads, had inside sales agents, had systems. And so then the problem was when those agents want to leave and try their own thing, like we didn't really have that kind of set up. So
Gotcha.
the EXP model works better, I think, if people want to outgrow your team, for sure. And also when you're building a team or a brokerage, there's really not an exit strategy. I mean, some people do, but it's usually not great. It's usually like very low multiples and
Yeah,
several years of earn out. So it's not like revenue share.
no doubt. So take me to, so you guys guessed it's been 2 years. You've only been here 2 years. You're closing in on 400 agents. So let's start from, first of all, did you know Tim and Julie when they first approached you? Did you guys already have a relationship?
No,
Okay.
I
So how did that
someone on
take
my
place?
someone on my team someone on my team reached out for them to be on my podcast, and we did the podcast interview. Almost didn't happen because we had some tech issues. We were doing it remote, and at the end of it, he kind of realized our sales volume and all that, and he was like, "Hey, why aren't you at EXP?" And I was like, "Well, we have 40 agents on the team. I don't want to pay the 4K cap. That's whatever money, And then he like held up his monthly revenue share thing, and it was like bigger than what we have to pay for our agents for a whole year. And I was like, okay, you got my attention.
I got you. So it's been 2 years.
The
So
funny thing is now we came over and we still have to pay the mega caps and all that and the fees. But compared to being an independent, I think we've actually saved money on that because we no longer
have to spend the time or money on a broker, and we also didn't have to have like we used to have, when we were closing 50 to 100 deals a month, we would have one person whose 90% of their job was to cut the checks to the agents, right? So that role kind of got absorbed by EXP. So, for most brokerages, I think actually saved money, when they move outside of rev share.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how they're structured. You guys had a pretty good size with 40 agents. So that's awesome. So you've been here 2 years. What I'd love to know is, how did it all start for you when you first came over? Did the whole team come with you, all 40 agents?
No, it was, well, yes, but not right away. So I came first. They gave me like a trial period, and then 3 months later, Keri and the rest of the team came. So I had like this window where I just wanted to recruit a lot, so that just so that it would make sense for the whole team.
I got you.
Right, because I kind of had to prove that model to Keri initially.
Okay. So the first 90 days, you were out busting it before Keri and the rest of the crew came over. So what did that look like? That's only been 2 short years ago. So what did you do out of to get this thing take off?
Yeah, so by the time they moved over, I had 35 or so people in the group, by month 3. So I called my warm list first. I just started with anyone I knew from coaching, events, etc. I made a lot of noise on social media to get some inbound, but I just had a lot of conversations, right? So you just have to have a lot of conversations. It can be outbound or inbound. I think the easiest way is probably outbound, because we know who every agent in the US is. I think getting inbound is great if you can build it up, but I think the outbound is easier for the average person if they get over phone fear, and I think it's more duplicatable and replicatable. Like, there's only going to be so many like mega super Instagram stars.
Yeah.
So I burned through my warm list, which took about a good 5 or 6 months to get through that list. Warm or semi-warm.
Yeah, give us an idea about how many folks. I want a lot of people to know this here, because we always say that, when you start RevShare, if you don't take the time to put together a list of a couple hundred agents, you really haven't started. And that needs to be put into a spreadsheet, right? That's like your business plan. So when you say your warm market, how many agents was that over about a 5-month period you reached out to?
I don't really know. I'm guessing it was definitely more than 100, but maybe 150 or 200.
Okay. So and
until for that first 6 months, I ran it off of like this, like a yellow.
Yeah, I'm with you. I did the same thing until it got to where you couldn't manage it off a notebook.
Right, and then I switched to a CRM, and I started cold calling 6 months in. But my first recruit was a team of 12, and then second recruit was a team of 4. I think in that first 10, I got a bunch of icons, and then one of my early recruits was a wife of a high school friend who's part-time. It's kind of a funny story. She sells 1 to 2 homes a year. She knew a girl from church that was 6 months in. Was a buyer's agent on a Remax team, and that lady came over, and I think she's at like 90 agents right now, 2 years in herself.
Wow, awesome.
So, and I think a lot of people, like, I agree you should focus on the productive agents, but you never, if a part-time agent, like, you just never know who they will find and what they will do.
Yeah. No doubt. So would you mind, if you can remember, it's only been a couple of years ago, those conversations to your warm market? Because I'm assuming some of the faces looking back at both of us right now probably still have some warm market. Can you give us an idea? What would you say when you reached out to them? How did that start?
Yeah, so I would send a text, and I would be like, "Hey, Sean, it's Dan. It's been a while since we talked. I wanted to get your opinion on something. When do you have time for like a 10-minute call?" And then I'd call them up and say, "Hey, I don't know if you've heard of EXP Realty, but I'm thinking about doing this, or I just joined, and I'm curious what you think or what you've heard about the company. And they almost always, back then, it would be like one of two objections, maybe three.
Yeah.
The biggest one was like, I guess it would be like, is it too late, or aren't they just a recruiting company? Those are the two biggest ones.
Okay.
And I would just always agree with them. I'd say, like, yeah, you're right. You're right in thinking that way, from where you're sitting. I certainly did when I was in your position, and what I found out was, we actually sell more homes than anyone, right? And revenue share doesn't work without revenue. So the company's actually, has some of the highest producing agents, and bigger teams are moving over. And then I would transition after that and say, if I sent you which I'm sure everyone does, right? If I sent you a video that explained the model, would you be able to take a look at it and then let me know what you think? I can follow up in a couple of days, and that was it. And then when I followed up, I would say, like, hey, what'd you think? Or what'd you like best? What'd you like best about what you saw in the video? Oh, great. Well, okay. Well, I joined under Tim. He's, talk about Tim, right? He's amazing, does blah, 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 blah. If I was able to get him on the phone or Zoom for 15 minutes, would that be a waste of your time?
Oh, okay. I like it. Very easy. So you start off with the text message, find out when they've got about 8 to 10 minutes. Got something? Would you say you got something important? Would you say you want to chat with them about?
I just said I want to get your opinion on something. Opinion.
Okay.
And usually when they call, by the way, when I would call, I would start asking like questions about them and what's going on, and
yeah,
they normally would talk for like 10 to 12 minutes about themselves before they said, like, oh, by the way, what did you want to,
Okay, because again, these are all people you knew through past conferences or did a deal with them or whatever. That's how you started off with your warm market. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so and we'll go and we can ask questions about the warm market here in a minute, but now you get your warm market, like you said, in 5 months. Well, you've been here another 18 months past that. So what have you been doing now? Because you talked about a lady that helped bring in about 90. You brought over a couple small teams. So now you're at about 120 or so. You're 40 come over. Well, now we're at about halfway. So you still got another 150 to 200. That sounds like a lot of that came through the cold market. Am I correct in breaking down those numbers?
A lot did, and then like a lot came through the team as well, because on the team we have to recruit like 3 or 4 a month just to stay at the same size. And then some of the people that have churned off the team have gone part-time or started their own team. So like we're starting to see some of that happen. Some we lose, they just got out of the business. But
yeah. So you're saying you need to almost have 3 or 4 come in a month because you might have 3 or 4 go out the back door?
If you're running a team of like 40 or 50, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so what does that sound like? If you don't mind me asking, you today, here you are 2 years in, closing in on 400 agents. Did not keep putting you on the spot, but as an agent who's looking to build rev share, I think people are always looking for exactly what do I do? What do I say? What do I text? So if you were calling someone today, what does that look like now on a cold call for you?
I've used 2 scripts before. I used a lot of the ones that Eric Orland built out. And more recently, I've been using Eric Worre and his scripting.
Don't know if I know that. Is that something you can share? I know who Eric.
He's written a book called Go Pro.
Yep. Yeah.
And he tells you like each step in the process. I think there's like 7 steps. The script for reaching out, it can be altered depending on, are you talking to like a big whale? Are you talking to someone that's cold, right? But the theory is to let them know you're in a hurry. Tell them who you are. Tell them why you're calling. Make an if I then will you statement, and then triple confirm the appointment, and then get off the phone. So if I get rejected, it takes me like 1 to 2 minutes. If it's successful, it's usually 4 for that initial call. I can get into the specifics, but I would call up and say, hey, Sean, this is Dan Lesniak. I'm one of the top leaders at eXp Realty, or you can say I work with one of the top leaders at eXp Realty. And give a compliment too, right? So I missed that part. I was reaching out because I know you're a great agent in our area, and you're the kind of person that I would love to talk to you about this. The reason why I'm calling is I wanted to see if you'd be open-minded to learning about the eXp platform. If I sent you a short video and some information about our group, then would you be able to take a look at it?
Yeah.
And usually they say yes, right? Because you already told them you're in a hurry, or you're running out the door, or you just had a minute, right? And they kind of feel like, I think like it converts higher than if you go for a direct 3-way call, because you're letting them off the hook with just watching the video. So they'll say yes to that. I'll say, great, I can send it out later today. When do you think you'll be able to watch it by? And hopefully they say 2 to 3 days time frame, right? Like if it was today and they said 3 days, it'd be okay, great, it's Monday. So if I called you on Thursday, that's definitely enough time that you would have seen it. And they say yes, so that's the third yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. I've got some time on Thursday at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. What works better for you?
Okay. And you're sending it through your CRM so that you can see when they've watched it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
If they haven't watched it in a couple of days, do you just kind of resend it, shoot a text before that setup call on Thursday? If they haven't watched it?
Yeah. We'll send a text out that has the same thing in it.
Okay. And you mind me asking, what percentage do you normally have that watch it before you call?
Yeah, it's a lot lower than I wish,
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because usually I always tell people when they say to send it, well, if they'll ask me to send it, I'll always generally say, you know what, I can do that, but I'll tell you what, I've got a large group for a reason. What I've learned in the last several years is 9 out of 10 people aren't going to watch it. We're all just too busy. Do you mind if you and I just grab 15 minutes the next couple of days? Let's just jump on together. We'll watch it right then. You'll have your questions. So I've kind of tried to do that, but that's why I was curious what your percentage is of people who watch it.
Yeah, I think it's less than half, maybe less than 1 out of 4.
Okay.
And I know some people won't take a call if they haven't watched it, but if I've got them set up on Zoom, I take them.
Okay. And so that follow-up call. So let's say you buzz me. You saw that I watched the video. Today's our call. You buzz me. What does that sound like?
Hey, Sean, did you get a chance to watch the video?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Okay, great. Well, based on what you saw, what has you the most excited about eXp?
You know what? I thought I understood everything. I guess I probably have a couple questions, but the idea of the 3 different ways that you guys can get paid. I've kind of known about it, but don't necessarily know the details. But have a little interest in this whole rev share passive income. What exactly? Can you give me more details about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Let me ask you this: if you came over to eXp and you started working on rev share alongside your current sales business, what kind of monthly income number would you want to get to that would make you excited?
Oh, I mean, at least 10,000 a month.
10,000 a month. Okay. And how would you, how many years, would you be willing to work towards that goal?
May I ask you, how many agents do you think I would need to have to get close to 10,000 so I can understand in my mind what that might take?
Sure. Yeah. So 10,000 a month, it kind of varies on, the level of production of the agents that you bring over and that your group brings over. Generally it's about $50 a month, maybe 40, depending on how big your group is, maybe 60 when you're smaller, but we like to figure somewhere in that 50 range. So to get to $10,000 a month, you typically need somewhere around 200 agents in your overall group. So those aren't agents that you've brought over personally. That's agents
Yeah.
that you brought over personally, and then what they did on all the different levels.
Gotcha. Okay, so just goes from there. And you guys know the deal. A lot of people may not ask you about the rev share, but I'd say 1 out of 7 or 8, if I was stabbing at it, definitely are interested in and want to kind of know more of the details. But well, first of all, Dan, thank you, man, for sharing all that. And your success in 2 years is pretty awesome. I'm sure anybody here would love to have 300 and whatever it is, 60, 370 agents in 2 years. Guys, that's starting to make a lot of change. So let's stop right now. Right, I continue to ask questions, but do you guys have any questions for Dan over what he's covered up to this point? If we want to jump back and you guys just throw out some questions, man. Think about right now, what do you want to hear? What are the little things you need they're going to move you forward, and maybe Dan can help you get out of the starting block. Questions for Dan? Yes, sir. Come on, Mike.
So Dan, you said that, or Sean was asking, could you maybe share? I know you gave us the general, kind of going through. Is it something that you could copy and paste and drop into chat? Just some of the generic for, let's say, a solo agent. We can always figure out how to modify it, for a more productive agent. But it'd be nice to kind of see what that verbiage would look like, or at least your script would look like.
I don't know if I have it, but let me search real quick.
And you're talking about like the script when he makes the phone call or when he text messages?
Yeah, probably the actual call script. Because I seen his close to kind of what we're doing, but a little bit different there. Just wanted to see what that looked like written down.
I don't think I have it written down.
I was looking for the notebook.
I've done training on it and like recorded it for my group. I don't think I have it written down though. I could.
Why don't we do this, Mike? Dan, if you're cool with this, because all I wrote down after the text message was you're in a hurry, who you are, why you're calling.
I mean, I can go through it and
I was gonna say, Mike, why don't you just kind of role play if you're cool?
Yeah.
So why don't you call if you're cool with it, Mike? Why don't you guys just have like a phone call, like you were just going to do it, and so everybody can sort of hear what you're saying? That'd be awesome.
Sure.
All right. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Mike. This is Dan Lesniak. I work with one of the top leaders at eXp Realty. This guy named Sean. He's amazing, and I only have a minute right now. I wanted to reach out to you because I've seen you, in our market. You're doing amazing in a challenging market. So congrats to you on that. The reason why I wanted to call is I want to see if you'd be open-minded to exploring EXP and seeing if it might be, something that would be beneficial for you. If I sent you a short video about the EXP model and how we're helping agents, is that something you'd be able to take a look at?
Yeah, I would look at that.
Okay, great. I can send it out to you later today. If I got it out to you, this afternoon, when do you think you could watch the video by?
Within a couple of days.
Within a couple of days. Okay, so today's Monday. If I called you on Thursday, is that definitely enough time that you would have been able to have seen it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. Well, I've got some time in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Would love to hop on Zoom and just see what you thought after you take a look at it. Which time works better for you?
Probably the afternoon.
Afternoon. Okay. Great. And what's the best email for me to send out a calendar invite and the video?
MikeOker@gmail.com.
Okay, great. I will get that out to you a little later today, and I look forward to connecting with you on Thursday.
Perfect.
So Dan, first of all, thank you for doing that. Out of making 5 calls like that, in reality, how many appointments will you set if you connect with 5?
Yeah, if I talk to 5, usually I get an appointment every 6 to 8 that I talk to. So, which is usually 20 dials because agents pick up their phone at a pretty good rate. especially if they don't know the number.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
So
not like expired. It's like you call expired, and it's like 1 out of 30 answer, and which I do that too. But
okay, I want to pause for a
it's
minute.
easier than it's. Yeah.
I
Go
definitely
ahead.
noticed where that was that's very much to the point. You're pretty much again kind of fluffing over everything, and you either heard of EXP or not, you're interested, right? You take the low-hanging fruit, the ones that are willing to at least reach up to get it. If not, hey, see ya.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't spend much time trying to argue with people.
Yeah, I love this. I just want to pause here for a minute for everybody that's here, because this is no different than what Eric Golden's teaching us, you guys. He's just
That
making the
was
calls. 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7 that he talks to, he sets an appointment. But here's how I'm going to pause though. We're 2 years in, got to be making some serious coin with 350 something agents on the team, right? Nice, strong 5-figure. How much time are you spending a day just straight shooting with this? Is this an hour a day prospecting kind of, or a few hours a week? What does it look like for you today?
Yeah, it's probably an hour a day. Right now I have so many people in the CRM that I probably spend 3 or 4 days reaching back out to people that I had initial talks with and
Yeah.
didn't go anywhere. And I probably spend only 1 or 2 days calling cold. I
Okay.
honestly don't know if that's a good strategy though. Sometimes I think I should focus more on the cold, but
Are you on CRM Grow?
yeah, I started on it with Eric Orland, but then he moved over to something else, and now he's rolling out Attractify, which is probably better, but I just don't want to switch.
Yeah. So think about this for a minute. Let's just assume Dan right now is at $20,000 a month, passive income in 2 years. Everybody stop with me right now. 2 years. And I love when, you're taking me back right now thinking about Brent Gove when someone starts saying, man, I want to build the rev share. Then he starts finding out what was their production last year. Let's say they did whatever, 6 million. They'll say, okay, this year you're going to do 5 million. So they're at 35 transactions, you're going to do 25. And people are freaking out, but he's just talking about at some point in time, you got to start to work in the rev share and it'll eventually surpass. But if you were right here, each and every one of you right now listening to me, and Dan, would you be willing right now, 5 days a week, to make an hour worth of calls? Let's say you work an 8 to 10 hour day. Could you find an hour a day if 2 years from now you were over 20,000 a month passive, didn't have to sell houses if you didn't want to? Would you be willing to do it? You heard exactly what he says, what his verbiage is. He's looking for those that are looking for us. He's not here to overcome objections. He's looking for the person that's open. Who would do that right now, in all sincerity, an hour a day, following just what Dan said, if 2 years from now you were completely financially and time free? It's so crazy, Dan. I love this. I had no idea of Dan's background, how he's done this, and to realize that he's really doing nothing different than Eric Golden teaches in our group is phenomenal. So Dan, I'm first of all, congratulations, man. To have done what
Thank you.
in 2 years is awesome. What does it look like for you? Where are you wanting to go? Go out another 1 or 2 years. What does it look like for Dan? What do you want this rev share group to look like?
I mean, bigger, but
I didn't know if you like set some realistic goals. Are you trying to get to 500? Is there like a number you're like, this is what I'm
no,
set?
I mean, I've set some unrealistic goals. As the percentage growth has gotten harder as it's gotten bigger, and with this market, so I feel like right now you have to fight harder than ever. I definitely want to get to 1,000. Next year, like 12 months from now, I'd probably be really happy to be at somewhere between 500 to 600.
Okay. And when you say it's getting harder today, elaborate on what you mean by that. I didn't want to try to fill in your words, but what's making it harder for you when you make these calls today?
I think the market it's creating opportunities because of agents' productivity, but then there's a lot of people are getting out. So I think the churn is a little bit more challenging as you get bigger. And then I think a lot of the agents that are really that are good producers, they're down. A lot of them are down, and they kind of just have this like deer in the headlights thing. Like they're so focused on just like one more deal, or so a lot of them kind of more of them stall out right now than I think a year or two ago.
And so
it just requires more follow-up and more work.
May I ask that follow-up? So you were spending maybe even 2/3 of your week, and like you said, whether that's the right thing to be doing or making more cold calls, but if you're just doing a quick follow-up call to Mike, right? I mean, Mike had just said he had already watched the video, but you guys wrapped things up. For some reason, he didn't join. Do you ask their permission to be on a follow-up system? How often do you follow up? If you don't mind sharing, what does that look like for you?
I put everyone on like emails that I write like twice a month, usually on average. And then I just set a task to call them in whatever timeline, made sense based on the call. Like if there was no interest, I might call them in 6 months. If there was, mild interest, maybe 3 months. If they gave me like, if they're like, oh, I have to think about it, I'm like, I try to uncover, right? If they say I got to think about it, I'm like, well, usually when someone tells me they need to think about it, there's like one or two things that, I haven't explained well enough, or I haven't answered yet. And, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night because I'd be up like wondering what I didn't answer. So what specifically, what like one or two things would you say that you still need to think about, right? And then if that doesn't lead to like moving the ball down the field, then I'll be like, okay, well, how long are you going to give yourself to think about it? And then I'll just ask them at that point, like, all right, I know you want to think about it for, whatever reasons. When you come over someday, I'm going to work just as hard for you as I do for myself. I also don't want to be like overbearing. So when should I follow up with you?
Okay. I like it because you're just very direct. Like you said, Mike, he's just asking the direct question that you want to ask, and he's just asking it. That's that high D personality, but it's making, I'm loving this because I'm just listening to somebody who isn't doing anything out of the ordinary, just doing the work, and his whole life has changed, or at least in my perspective, most people's lives would change if you had 350 plus agents in your group. Other questions? You guys, Kathy, I see you on here. Chuck, you're nodding.
Well,
oh, and you guys got to have a question.
I just want to kind of add in, kind of Sean, what you said. Dan, hearing this style from you is actually very refreshing in so many ways, because Sean and Kelly and Jeff, everybody has their approach, right? And Eric runs the Thursday get-togethers, and one thing that I just had a conversation with him is that sometimes you think you're not really saying the right thing, you're not coming off the right way. Eric is straight to the point. Hey, you either like it, you don't, I'm going to move on, whatever. And to hear that same approach and knowing that you succeeded just being yourself and being direct, people are either going to respond to it or they don't. And that's what I really love about it.
Yeah, I'm the same with you, Mike. As I said, it's very enlightening, right? Because it fires me up a little bit to go, just get on the dang phone and call for an hour today, call for an hour tomorrow, call for an hour the next day. If you just do it, follow what he's doing, you're going to get better, right? And you can look at different people's scripts and all that. But I just want every one of you to stop again right now. You come on these every Monday, and a lot of you are on Thursday. If you did the work right now, even if you did 75% of what he did, or half of what he did, and you looked up in 2 years and had 150 agents, well, you're probably at about 8,000-9,000 a month. Life's pretty good, right? So I think it's just everybody making that decision. So other questions for Dan? Thank you so much for doing this, Dan.
Dan, Mark Mess here.
Yeah.
Ohio. When I first read your bio before we came on today, I saw you did 22 million and you've got a podcast. I was a little bit intimidated. I really was, genuinely. But now meeting you in person and hearing the way you speak over the phone, if I didn't see you in general, I can just tell your approach, just your demeanor. You come across as genuine, humble, believable. I can tell that you believe in what you're talking about when you're sharing here with us. And I'm sure along the way, you've had it's been refreshing hearing what you're doing. I'm doing the same exact thing that you're doing here. And I've had some results.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I get on a weekly basis a little bit knocked down. And what keeps you driving forward? I know you've got results now that you know it works, but for people that are on here trying to get started with this, and they've maybe got one agent or 0 agents or 10, what words of encouragement could you give them here today to help us all drive forward? Because I do believe it, but even today, I woke up Monday. It's a big week ahead. That phone's a ton of bricks again, and it could take just one call to sort of, that didn't turn out right, or 2 or 3, and you're down that rabbit hole. But I like your approach, and I like your questions, just across the board. Really like what you're doing. So if you picked up the phone and called me, I'd be willing to, share a little bit. And also, what is the video you're sharing? And tell us a little bit more about your podcast, please.
Great question.
Sure. Yeah. I use the Brent Gove video. Sometimes I send that 10-minute corporate made one too, the short one, but I typically use the Brent Gove one. I know there's another person in my group who's very successful, and he's using kind of the same way I'm doing it, but he's picked out 3 or 4 different videos. So he sends it based on who he thinks will resonate with that person.
Yeah, so you got the 9-minute corporate one, the new 13-minute one that's put up by Attract, or Attraction Flow and Attract Boss. The 2 of them merging. So they got the 13-minute, you got the 9-minute, and you've got the big one here by Brent, the 30-minute. What's the 4th video they might be shooting? You know what that is?
Well, no, he's just gone on YouTube and found like he'll put the Gove. He uses Tina Calls.
Okay.
I don't know who else. He's picked out 2 or 3. I mean, there's so many out there. I think he spent like a couple hours before he started, and he's like, okay, if it's a high producing female, I'm gonna send him Tina Calls. If it's a guy who cares about rev share, I'm gonna send him Brent Goves. And
got you.
So he does it like that. I just keep it simple. I do the same one to all of them.
Okay, that's food for thought. You guys, if you don't know all those different videos, because we've got ours, Eric Golden's, right? Then we got the 13-minute. If you guys can go grab that, it's a brand new one and reduced, came out from Attraction Flow and Attract Boss. Then you got the 9-minute one, then you got Brent Goes. Because I'm sort of with you also. I made some debating on what I learned about them and what I think their biggest interests are from what I uncovered, or their pain points. I may decide on what's sending one of those certain videos I think might connect with them better. So
yeah,
good.
You have a presentation of your own that you eventually do, or when you get them on the phone afterwards?
No, I never use a presentation. I ask an open-ended, somewhat assumptive question that's getting them to think of yes. So like I would never ask, what did you think about the video? Because then they'll start thinking about bad things. So then I just start with what did you like best about what you saw? That's one I use a lot. If it's someone in my downline bringing me on like a 3-way call after someone watched the video, I would, I'd be like, look, Mark, when Mike brings people on and they've had a discussion with him and watched the video, they're usually in one of 2 camps. Sometimes they're ready to join and we just use this call to plan the transition process, or other times they have like 1 or 2, maybe sometimes 3 lingering questions. So how can we best use our time today for you?
I like that. Everybody get that?
That's from Tim Harris. That's like
say that one more time, Dan. Go ahead and say that one more time.
Yeah. So Mike, when we get people on calls like this, and Mark has talked with them and they've watched the video, they're almost always in like one of two camps. Either they're ready to join and they just want to know how to make the transition, or they have like one or two or sometimes even three lingering questions that we need to answer. So how can we make best use of our time today?
Okay.
That's
And
good.
then another one I've heard recently, Elizabeth Riley was actually on a call. And she said her opening question was, what about your current brokerage has you considering EXP right now? Because then which is kind of really smart because you're getting them to identify pain points from where they're at.
Yeah.
People move away from a small amount of pain quicker than they'll move to like
For the benefit.
like
Yeah.
a massive opportunity, right? So like she always says like find the pebble in the shoe. Or Dave Kennard says like find out their pain point and lovingly rub salt in it.
So again, that statement you just said, what is it about?
What is it about your current brokerage that has you looking at EXP right now?
I got you.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. Very, very
So
good.
they're gonna say, well, I like it, but the splits, or I pay a lot, or we're looking for growth. Like they'll
Yeah.
usually identify something they don't like.
Now, do you generally, if they show interest but they're not ready to move forward, do you generally pull them also into a three-way call, a three-way Zoom, use some different people in EXP?
I try to. Because I think it sets a good example for them. Because
Yeah.
if I say like, Mark, when you come over, all you need to do is make introductions and get people on a three-way call with me, but that's not how I treated them, then I think they're a lot less likely to do it. So, sometimes I'll bring in someone that is outside the group, or if Tim's busy, and bring in someone under me sometimes. So there's just a lot of different
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Best thing I would say there for everybody, at least in regards to three-way call, and a lot of us may have joined, may have heard Casey's. If you're not, you can look up three-way calls by Casey on Google. Phenomenal. And you can jump to about the 13-minute mark. She has like an hour-long recording they did years ago, but it's incredible on three-way calls. But what I was going to say is, what's my mind thinking about? Like you just said, I guess making it duplicatable, making in their mindset going, God, I could do this. Have somebody watch a video. Come on. We had a little bit of a dialogue and they brought somebody else on to help answer any final questions. It makes it very real and duplicatable in their mind that they could do the same thing. I think that's where Dan's trying to go with this versus that's the same reason I think a lot of people avoid doing their own presentation because you don't want that prospect thinking, if that's what I got to do, I don't think I could ever do this because I don't want to have to present. So you're trying to make it duplicatable as much as possible.
Correct.
Very cool. Well, guys, we got about 10 minutes left. I'll ask one other question. Anybody got something coming up? Retention. If Kelly Fasterling was on here, Mike, she'd ask this question. So what are you doing? You got a big group right now. Anything you do specifically on a weekly or monthly basis with your group to kind of keep that camaraderie and maintain the retention?
Yeah, we do different Zoom trainings and calls. It's a struggle to get people to attend at high numbers.
Yes. Yes.
So it's
look
a challenge. I send out like a weekly newsletter to everyone in the group. I kind of highlight things at EXP and do some shout outs, and I put the schedule of when we're going to offer training.
Yeah.
It's hard though. I mean, and I think once you get to a certain size, my philosophy is you can bend the law of averages, but you can't like deviate too far from them. So I think EXP loses about 3% a month on average, and they're 85,000 agents. So they're going to be pretty in line with what the average for brokerages is, which is slightly higher. So I think you have to worry about it, but I think the front door is more important.
Yeah, agree with that is big time. You know, I've got a pretty good sized group right now, and you're exactly right. I've got a percentage going out the back door and trying to continue to bring them in the front door. And guys, I personally think that could potentially slow down people leaving. I think with the new administration and what's about to happen over the next few years, I think we're going to see things start to turn around and go back in a positive direction. I think interest rates will continue to come down, I think all the way through the end of 25. So I'm very optimistic, man, about where this is all going right now.
Yeah, I had my lowest offboarding amount in October, probably in like over a year. So the October drop-offs went down, like the ones who just offboarded, you know?
And why do you think that might be, in your opinion?
I don't know.
I don't know. People might have been waiting to find out about the election, didn't want to.
Yeah, maybe people are sensing it's different, or maybe we've burned through a lot of the churn already.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Is there any for you guys right now, is there any like one objection that you might get from time to time you're not quite sure how to respond that you might want to ask Dan or anything like that before we jump off here? We got another 7-8 minutes.
I have a question.
Yes, totally. Go ahead, brother.
Thanks for sharing and congrats on all your success. The big nuggets I got from you for the production part was being hyper local. I'm going to focus on the new builds that's building around me. You said you also door knock for off market. We're doing CMAs and pre-foreclosures and knocking on doors. What is your script? What are you doing for the off market? Because the great thing with real estate, if you do the cash investor side, if they don't, you can't offer them cash. Most times you can, and you can list for them with very little competition. So what do you do when you're door knocking, and what's your script for that?
Yeah, it was just like, hey, Mr. Homeowner, I'm working with a buyer that really likes this neighborhood, and your house might be a good fit for him. As you know or may not know, there's not a lot of homes on the market. You'll have to change it. Like back then when I was doing it, I would say because of interest rates being low, this is 10 years ago, but and the inventory being low, there haven't been a lot of home sales, and you might be surprised at what your home would go for. And if you're at all interested in selling in the next 12 months, we might be able to get you a really great price with little to no time on the market, and take all the stress out of it and close on a timeline you like. Is that something that's in the realm of possibility for you? Something like that.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Again, I'm sitting there thinking it's exactly what you'd want to say, right? Just real direct.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to change it now. You can't say like low interest rates, but you could say something like if you're thinking about selling a year from now, there could be more homes on the market, more competition, right? So there's just kind of like take what is out there to create some sort of urgency or interest.
Very good. Very good. All right, guys, we're coming up on the top of the hour. Anybody have another question? Dan's just spitting out verbiage, baby. It's coming out.
Kate
Yes,
has a
ma'am.
question in the chat.
Onboarding process. So we use the Gene Frederick team for that. So they do like the tech tour and all that, and then we send them a series of emails that helps them get set up with like the cadence of our group and where to sign up for things in EXP. So we have our own system that goes out, and then we try to do text check-ins or phone calls as well. Like when they make the application, when they move the license, and then like a week later. I could probably build out more of those. I also like to introduce them to other people in the group. Like I just put a text like, hey, Tim, Bob is joining. He's going to be amazing. Congrats, Bob. And then, so just introduce them to different people at the company by text, or it can even be like a 5-minute phone call.
Yeah. And I would advise you guys, couple things. One, we're using Vonda. As a matter of fact, Vonda, if you don't have somebody you're using for onboarding, let me know. Reach out to me. I'll send you her contact info. She's probably now onboarded 12 to 15 people, I'd imagine, for us in the last 60 to 90 days. And we've heard nothing but good reviews. Haven't heard anything negative at all about Vonda. So it's been going well there. I would also, if I were you guys, once they come on, bring them to the Wednesday Connect to Collaborate, right? Where we just have an open dialogue. Then you can introduce them to a few people. Maybe we ask them, how long they're in real estate, whatever. Make them feel warm and welcome, and let them know they can reach out to anybody, and all of us kind of share that info. So that'd be my suggestion for our group. Use Vonda if you don't have that info. Reach out to you on Messenger or text me, and we can kind of go from there. Angie, we have a private Facebook group to introduce welcome new agents. Tennessee, yes. We've got the same thing right now in the Freedom Team and Workplace. Onboarding, GoPro. Okay. I got 2-3 minutes left. Somebody else got one more question. Come on. We've had good stuff flying out of here this morning. One more question for Dan.
Do you assign them to a team, or are they just based on how they come in as a group or a solo? How do you connect them with someone to help them out?
I don't recruit a lot to other people's teams. If someone's joining an area, even if it's our area, but they're not a good fit for our team, I'll introduce them to other teams that I have in our group. If they're, if they're in a different area, and I have a team there, I'll introduce them to that team leader.
Do you mean,
and I wouldn't be opposed to, like, if they were joining an area and I didn't have a good team in my area, I'm not opposed to like calling the team leader either and saying like, hey, if I sponsor this agent, would you want him on your team?
And so the people joining a team, a traditional team, is obviously going to be lower producers generally. I'd imagine 3 million or less.
And they're usually coming for the team. They usually don't know like anything about EXP. They're just coming for the team. Maybe some teams are different, but like I've just found that they want the team leader, they want that culture, and then EXP just happens to be the brokerage that team is at.
Yeah. And you've got within your group, it sounds like 3 or 4 different teams within your group?
I think we have 22.
22 teams?
Yeah. No,
3 agents or 15 agents?
Some of them are like teams and maybe they have one person or they like started a team, but they don't have any. But yeah, I think over half of close to half the agents in our group are on teams.
Wow. Very interesting.
Which is like, it's good and bad. The team leaders are going to naturally keep those full, but I don't want to overgeneralize, but I've just found that typically they're either new or they don't want to hunt for their own buyer seller leads. I don't think those are typically the type that will build rev share. And they're also usually like lower caps, so lower rev share. So
yeah,
by all means get a great team, but you can really make more money off of recruiting 3 full cappers than a mega team of 10.
Yeah.
And the 3 solo agents should have more time to recruit. The team leader is really busy running the team.
Yeah. No, it's and I completely agree with you right there. We always say if you're going to build rev share, focus on people doing 3.5 million or greater. If you have a team within, or you want to start a team, that's a whole nother approach. Then you can talk to the newbies up to 1, 2, potentially 3 million that might, like you said, just want to have leads coming their way. They just don't want to go hunt. And there are definitely those kind of people out there. But hey, Dan, dude, thank you, brother. I love this because I don't ever know what to expect. But man, you just reiterated exactly what a lot of us are learning on Thursdays from another gentleman on our team. So it was great just to hear that's what you've done, and done it in 2 years is the part that's really grabbed my attention. So I hope it did you guys as well. Dan, obviously this is being recorded. Would you like me to send the recording over once it's done?
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah.
Cool. Man, would you be open? I don't mean to put you on the spot. We can talk off, but every Tuesday, and this may be something another couple months out, every Tuesday, we generally have a big producer come on and do some kind of training that's something they're really specifically good at in production. Would you be open if I had my other business partner reach out? It could be something the next few months down the road, but have you come on and train on something you're doing in the production area?
Yeah, I'd probably do expireds if that's of interest.
Perfect, man. Whatever you feel really good at, dude. You sound like you've got it going on, and dude, thank you. I'll send that either late this afternoon or tomorrow. And if I can ever be of help to you, man, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay. Cool.
All
Well,
right,
thank you
guys,
so much.
appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks for
you,
jumping
Dan.
on. And
Thanks
for
a lot.
participating, everybody. Yes,
Please
thank
do
you, guys.
inspire. Can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Thank
There
you.
go. Have a blessed day, brother. Thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.